Welcome, welcome. So this is Tinker Time Labs, and we are just recording behind the scenes of preparing for a webinar that we wanted to host for the art of leading. So I'm Leigh-Anne Nugent, and I'm joined with Lisa McKale.
Hi. Yeah. So we wanted to share the behind the scenes of our preparation for a few reasons. One, I think all content is content. So we wanted to share with you what we're actually doing behind the scenes. We've been hearing about us for almost a year now. Two, how we're leveraging AI in our business and some of the nuances that come with that, some of the statistics and the statistics in play. And maybe you'll stick around and watch the final product.
That's the idea. Okay, so I stopped sharing my scene because I thought we would do a little bit of background of how we got here. Lisa and I moved pretty fast. And now that we've got AI in our back pocket, we feel like we're even faster. So what we're learning is how much of the work does AI do for us? And then how much do we have to step in? And Lisa, you were saying something earlier, like your observations around that.
Yeah, I think the statistic has always been AI can get you 70 to 90% of the way there. So my personal thing has always been humanizing the digital transformation. So that 10 to 30% has to come from critical thinking human beings. You got to check everything from spelling, transcription, using the right words, not that they just sound and look the same. However, in the context of using it for presentations, it can really develop the framework. However, again, critical thinking, conscientiousness is a big thing with our brand, right? So Leigh-Anne, you might want to talk a
Yeah.
little bit about it because we did use AI to come up with a framework for the
Yeah.
slide deck. And then you took the information and made the slide deck. So what was
So
that
here we
like for
go.
you?
I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Awesome.
And this was interesting observation too, because just a tech check, you can see.
Yes, I can. It's a
Okay.
little small, but I
Okay.
mean,
I
it
will
works.
zoom in. Hold on.
Yeah. So this was, oh,
Okay. Hold on one second. It's okay. I'll just zoom in the whole browser. Okay.
yeah.
So the objective was create, a webinar to showcase the art of leading. And really the idea was to just get a sense of where leaders are in their leadership pipeline journey. So their leadership maturity and understanding, do they even have a succession plan? Like what are the biggest challenges for leaders today? And this was one of the key problems that we heard, or that ChatGPT found for us, was that this concept of being leader of an organization and trying to be everywhere all at once. Not enough leaders taking responsibility at the management level. Even some employees are afraid to take ownership and authority in their roles. They're always asking for direction or permission to take action or make a decision. So thought that was a pretty interesting problem to solve. But as we were putting together the framework, first we wanted to say, well, now that we know who the target audience is, and ChatGPT has some context around the art of leading program already, what should we write about? And both Lisa and I asked it in both of our separate instances to put a framework together. So what would that agenda look like? And both of us received a very similar agenda. It looked exactly like this. And how many months have we been playing with this? This is the first time we received similar results. So then we asked it to create this slide deck structure. And again, with the critical thinking that you were talking about, I think it's really important, because if I just copy and paste this into a slide, that's not really engaging, right? Same thing with some of these items, identifying leadership blind spots. There's not real copy paste type of action here. So then I thought, okay, how about you just generate it for me? And then it did create something for us, but I still in order to get it from what it created to what we ultimately are working with right now, I had to do a lot of reshaping the content in order to get it to be something, right? What drives engagement? I didn't think that just one metric would be valuable. So I think maybe four would be good. So after some research, I just found some compelling numbers here. But yeah, that's one thing that I noticed. Lisa,
Yes.
what are your thoughts about this talk track piece? Because that was pretty interesting too. Once we created and polished this stack, we extracted that and then put it through and we came up
Well,
with,
I did
yeah.
not extract the deck, so I
Oh,
wanna
you
make
didn't.
sure.
Okay. I
No,
did on mine. Okay. Okay.
I didn't. I had actually requested the talk track prior to seeing your complete deck. Like, I had
Oh,
already
I
asked
see.
it. Yeah, based on the slide framework that I received. I do wanna go back, though, just to talk
Oh,
about
sure.
creating the presentations. There
Yeah.
are other AI platforms and even ChatGPT that will create an actual deck for you so that the lift is not so heavy with making actual PowerPoint presentations. The challenge, and I think where, again, not just critical thinking, but in this case, branding design and your ability, again, that it would be critical thinking, adding more statistics to certain slides that would make it more relevant to the target market audience. I
Yeah.
think that, again, it's just how comfortable you are using the different platforms. And again, is it going to be 10 to 30%? I think you, like you said, you put in a lot more
Hmm.
to bring that presentation together. However, it's a rock star presentation. Make sure you watch it. No, it
Think
is really
for
good.
this, I would say that it took me maybe 30% of the way there. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that there are other things. Now, what I would say is that I really like in PowerPoint. I know I sound like an old school person for using PowerPoint, but I really like that their designer feature. It doesn't really work when you've got a background. So I spent the majority of my time without any branding or any of that stuff. So the way that usually say is I want the content before the makeup. So create the content, put all of the raw text in there because you can get some pretty decent AI structures here. Like this one was an AI generated one. This one is an AI generated one, but these are really just like the smart art text. But the way that it decided and it shaped it, it took a lot of the like other elements within this presentation. This one actually I think I got this from Canva. This was inspired by Canva. So Canva has some pretty nice slide templates, really pretty. And then when you extract it as a PowerPoint, it does keep all the little shapes for you so that you can edit it. The challenge that I have with that is you got to update all the stuff, right? I like smart art because you can just reshape it, but you lose the design flexibility. It's all different components. So it's cool. I have to
Awesome.
reshape it because now it's covering my footer.
Yeah. And it's hitting your border at the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I put in again, the lipstick came on last. So I'll have to probably go back and do another round of polish. And we've got some slides here that this is what it created. Here's an example of what it created. I didn't really love the way that this slide looked, right? And when it's not even, again, straight from ChatGPT, this is not even the way that we have to clean up what exactly the offering is. And is it even trademarked? Not really. I wish little things. And then some things is, oh yeah, this is a very obvious by putting these emojis in here. It just is a dead giveaway that AI created this. Everybody knows that like the output that it generates these days, so they can call it out. So either say that this was an AI generated event or just say this was an we leveraged AI tools to help us create it. I think that there's got to be a little bit of transparency with the AI component because I think a lot of people think that they can just run it and they think that we can okay, where's my talk track, right? They think that I can just have a conversation and just read this as a script exactly as it created. But quite frankly, we're rewriting this together as we're going through it. We're even determining who's going to say what and is this really the engagement? Probably would love polls, but once we got on here, we don't have a polls capability right now. I don't know what feature I didn't enable or what. So now we're just going to call it, just put it in the chat and we'll play that way. But if I figure out that setting before then, we'll have real polls.
Exactly, and you will. I think that's part of, again, on brand, we tinker until it works the way that we want it to work, right? And
Yeah.
we seem to have some fun along the way. We've covered using AI in order to create framework. We've covered human engagement, critical thinking, some design. We've covered how to use a talk track and again, going back in and doing it. I think it's a win for getting the bulk of the work through there and also speaking about, again, humanity, critical thinking, and being transparent about using it. I think you and I both do a tag or something, at least on I know on our posts we do that. So yeah,
Or even like our white papers. Like I know that in some of my articles or my white papers, I do say written with the support of. I have a white paper
something.
out there, but I don't know if I've published that yet. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, been a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Like this journey, like playing with these tools. I just said to someone else today, my grandpa taught me when would visit his hardware store. He would show me all of the tools that he was using and he would tell me like what tool is used for what. And he's like, if you don't know your tools, then you don't know how it can be used. So to me, this is part of understanding what's in our tool belt,
Yeah.
knowing when to use it, how to use it, and how far it can take you. Don't use a hammer when what you need is a machine gun
You're
or
funny.
a screwdriver or whatever it is, or just like a good elbow grease. Yeah. So I think that's it. And
For behind the scenes, yeah. But again, listen to the webinar because I think there's definitely something for everyone to take away for being a better leader of self, others, and organizations. So exciting times ahead. Thank you for joining.
bye. Thanks.